Live from downtown Detroit, home of WDIV and Click on Detroit, Local 4 News at 5 starts now.
It's not getting any better. New coronavirus cases are rising fast, more than 2,000 for the second straight day. So what's being done right now as experts say the second wave is starting to arrive?
We've got sun heading into the weekend, but it isn't going to stay that way. The local forecaster's tracking some rain because one day is going to be much better than the other.
The judge just wasn't buying it. Major developments tonight in the alleged plot to kidnap Governor Gretchen Whitmer.
But we'll begin with breaking news happening right now. Detroit police searching for a man who shot at them this afternoon on the city's east side. Police say they went to a home on Dresden for an assault call. They say a man got out of a car, fired at them, and then ran off. They are still searching for him and the driver of that car, which is a black Chrysler 300. Police are in the area of Strasburg and Gunston and Nashville and McNichols, kind of bordered by those four streets. No one, fortunately, was hurt, but the investigation continues.
Today, a judge ruled all 5 suspects facing federal charges in the plot to kidnap the governor will be going to trial.
That came as the defense attorneys in the case claimed their clients were all talk and didn't actually plan to carry out the kidnapping. Defender Sean Lay was in Grand Rapids today for the hearing. Sean.
Good evening from Grand Rapids. A big part of this hearing focused on another Metro Detroit man named Ty Garbin. His attorney argued that threats and plotting against Governor Whitmer is protected free speech. Training to carry out the plot is lawful assembly. The judge did not agree. Since the plot to kidnap the governor hit like a bombshell last week, the Local 4 defenders have been focused on 3 men from Metro Detroit who the FBI says just aren't part of this group, but they say Daniel Harris from Lake Orion, Caleb Franks from Waterford, and Ty Garbin from Heartland were allegedly leaders of the group and wanted to kill the governor. A hearing to see if the FBI has enough evidence on all of the federally charged continued Friday, and it was Garbin's attorney to ask the questions of the FBI, getting the agent to reveal that with more than 100 hours of 2 FBI informants recording the men allegedly making the plans, the FBI has little video of these meetings. The attorney argued Garbin and others could not have liked what they heard about the violence and simply walked away. Attorneys for Garbin and accused ringleader Adam Fox argued that talking about kidnapping the governor, storming the Capitol with maximum violence is protected free speech. Meetings held on Garbin's property is protected lawful assembly. The judge with the final say saying a plan doesn't have to go into action to be guilty of conspiracy. She says the men relentlessly planned and trained, and Fox and Garbin were arrested October 7th by the FBI. The judge says there was more than enough evidence that the 2 were trying to buy parts for a bomb. Garbin's attorney, who successfully defended the Hutari group against the FBI, comparing both cases.
There are First Amendment rights of assembly and speech at play here, and Second Amendment rights to possess firearms. There's more to this case than just the government's, for now, by the way. We know what's in the criminal complaint. It's going to be interesting if they end up indicting what's going to be in that indictment.
All men facing the federal charges now will face trial. Their attorneys say so much more information should come out. In Grand Rapids, Sean Lay, Local 4 Defenders.
All right, Sean, we're also getting our first look at the 15th and latest suspect arrested in the case. 51-year-old Brian Higgins was arrested in Wisconsin Dells, Wisconsin on Thursday. He's been charged with providing material support in the plot. Right now, he's awaiting extradition to Michigan. No time frame, though, on when he'll make his first appearance up north in Antrim County.
Michigan voters will no longer be able to open carry guns when they go to vote. Just this morning, Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson issued new guidance on guns while voting. Now no one can open carry at a polling place or clerk's office. Benson says this is so people can vote without being afraid of threats or harassment.
Now to today's coronavirus numbers. Bad news for a second straight day. 2,015 new cases of COVID-19 confirmed over the past 24 hours. And with that, the state is reporting 14 new deaths from the virus. Now, over the past 2 weeks, it's becoming clear we are seeing COVID cases rising along with hospitalizations.
And as that happens, there's chaos surrounding the state's COVID-19 orders. So what's being done to fix that? Rod Maloney spent the day working to get answers. And so, Rod, what'd you find out?
Well, Kimberly, what we found out is even though the legislature was not in session today, there was a lot of activity, a flurry of activity, trying to figure out exactly what to do moving forward, knowing the situation we're in. Governor Whitmer's executive orders have given way to the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services clamping down with its own orders by requiring masks still and limiting crowd sizes in bars, restaurants, and other enclosed indoor spaces. Lansing sources tell Local 4 News negotiations are indeed underway between the Senate and the governor's office on more response bills and to reduce the confusion surrounding who should step in and when. One source said the focus is on making the state's overall COVID response similar to the Return to Learn school reopening plan earlier this year, allowing for more local control. One of the things the governor's agreed to do is to start sharing the data with the legislature that she used in her decision-making processes for much of the year. Now, the Mackinac Center for Public Policy brought the lawsuit leading to the Supreme Court's decision earlier this month. Patrick Wright, the lead lawyer, says that he is watching the process very carefully because he is still concerned that the health department may be overstepping its authority with its orders implemented right after the Supreme Court decision.
To the extent that they are seeking unlimited power for an unlimited time, it has echoes of what the Supreme Court said, that the governor couldn't do it. It's very difficult to believe that one of her underlings can do it in her place. So yes, it is of some concern.
Now, they don't have a lawsuit drawn up or anything, but they are clearly taking very careful measure of what it is that Robert Gordon, the MDHHS director, is doing in this. He does have a deadline of October 30th for the current order. It'll get interesting thereafter to see what happens. Back to you.
Yeah, so, Rod, will the governor have the discretion to roll the state back if indeed we do see a second wave of the virus?
Well, it doesn't appear that she has that authority, at least the authority that she was using, but she can work with the legislature. Now, all eyes on Monday morning are going to be in Lansing again because there is a joint committee on COVID response. They're going to be holding a hearing. And no doubt the fact that the cases and hospitalizations are rising will be coming up there.
Yeah, and we will be following it, Rod. We appreciate it.
Heading into the weekend, looks like we're going to have decent weather for at least part of it.
Let's get over to Andrew on a Friday. He's in for Ben. Hi, Andrew.
Hey there, Kimberly and Devin. And yes, it is looking good this weekend, especially the first half of it, and even on Sunday with a chance of showers. Much of it is going to be dry. Out there right now, though, we're looking at dry conditions, cool out there, and it gets colder overnight. There's a frost advisory in effect for tonight, so you know the drill. Just like yesterday, pets, potted plants, make sure they're indoors. Be very careful with space heaters. Make sure they don't tip over. Make sure they stay away from anything flammable. Right on time, as we talked about yesterday, a couple of sprinkles are out there, mainly throughout the thumb, but other parts of southeast Michigan as well. You see a couple of raindrops in parts of Lapeer and Sanilac counties. Same thing in parts of Livingston County. No lightning associated with, really nothing to write home about. If you have any evening or nighttime plans, keep them in place. Just remember your masks and your jackets before heading out. Chillier where we have some of that rain with 45 degrees over in Lapeer, 53 right now in Ann Arbor. And look at that sunshine over Detroit. Look at the trees too. What beautiful, magnificent fall foliage we have. We've got 55 degrees. We can enjoy that fall foliage this weekend. Sunshine for Saturday, but more on those Sunday showers and your 7-day forecast in just a few minutes.
Okay, Andrew. Democratic nominee for President Joe Biden making the rounds across the state as the race to the White House continues. Biden just finished a campaign event in Southfield where he was critical of how President Trump has handled coronavirus.
And the reason he lied again to the American people? Well, he said he didn't want to panic the American people. Americans don't panic. Donald Trump panicked. That's who panicked.
Coming up at 6, you'll hear more from Joe Biden's interview with our Mar McDonald on a number of key topics heading into next month's election.
Now, both Biden and President Trump are rallying in key battleground states today after their pair of televised town halls. Notable both for the questions the two candidates answered and the ones they didn't. Alice Barr in Washington with the latest. Alice.
Good evening. Both candidates dodged critical questions in last night's town halls that had notably different tones.
The presidential candidates picking up the pace on the campaign trail today. President Trump hitting 2 battlegrounds with appearances in Georgia and Florida. In Fort Myers, the president promising to fast-track COVID vaccines to seniors.
To immediately deliver the vaccine directly to nursing homes at no cost to our seniors.
Joe Biden doubling down with 2 events in Michigan after simultaneous town halls last night highlighted their stark differences. The president often argumentative under tough questioning from NBC's Savannah Guthrie, saying he couldn't remember whether he'd taken a required COVID test the day of the last presidential debate, 3 days before entering the hospital. He appeared to admit being some $400 million in debt.
What I'm saying is that it's a tiny percentage of my net worth.
And he refused to denounce the baseless, fringe QAnon conspiracy theories that Democrats and celebrities are satanic pedophiles and that President Trump is their savior.
I know nothing about QAnon.
I just told you.
I know very little. You told me, but what you tell me doesn't necessarily make it fact.
Biden's town hall with ABC News' George Stephanopoulos striking a calmer tone with detailed policy discussions. Biden admitted his support for the 1994 crime bill was a mistake, but he still would not tell voters clearly whether he supports adding justices to the Supreme Court.
They do have a right to know where they stand, and they'll have a right to know where I stand before they vote.
So you'll come out with a clear position before Election Day?
Yes, depending on how they handle this.
A head-spinning, channel-swapping night, previewing the final in-person presidential debate next Thursday in Nashville.
The president and Biden largely avoided talking about each other last night, though each said the other candidate was not the right person to handle the pandemic. In Washington, Alice Barr, Local 4.
Okay, Alice, one thing certain about last night's dueling town halls, it was a lot to try to process at once.
It really was, and Grant Herms and the Trust Index team are fact-checking over this next hour of news. Here, what both candidates had to say.
Also, they are furious. New tonight, the family of the man shot and killed inside a Detroit gas station pleading for an arrest in the case.
And the Hamtramck assembly plant is getting a whole lot more than a $2 billion overhaul. We'll have that story in just a couple of minutes.